Good morning everyone, it's Wednesday the 3rd of March and today we are learning to use dialogue to convey character and advance action. So your do now today is to edit the 3 sentences that are currently on the screen. So pause the video here whilst you make those corrections and press play once you're ready to see how you did. So well done. Let's see how we got on with that. So what we want to do is check here. We've got within a few days news had spread about the attack. So within a few days is obviously a forensic adverbial. So we want to make sure that we have a comma punctuated in here. Within a few days. News. News as in knowledge, as in to know, not the correct spelling here. So we don't want the K, we want news like this. News had spread about the attack. So full stop here. Nice and simple for sentence 1. Sentence 2, the king begged. We want a capital T for the king. The king begged. Well, we notice here that the suffix ed, we should actually double the G in the CVC word beg. So we should have begged, 2 Gs, the king begged. We then need a comma because we're introducing a speech and then a capital Y. You have come here to help me. So you must, and then we wouldn't use of, have. You must have come here to help me, full stop. Sentence 3, we want a capital D for don't and an apostrophe to replace the omitted N and O. Don't worry, full stop. We don't want to run a sentence. Then a capital letter, I will kill the beast. An exclamation mark or a comma will work here. I'm going to fit in a comma because an exclamation mark might struggle there. Replied, we don't need a capital R. Quite often this happens here. You don't need a capital R after the speech, but then you do need a capital B for Beowulf here. So, and then a full stop at the end. Well done if you got all of those edits and continue watching to find out more about your lesson today. So in this paragraph, King Bjorn and Beowulf will meet and they will discuss the threat of Nidhogg. It's up to you how you want that conversation to really pan out, and we'll discuss that shortly. But have a think here. How will this conversation advance the plot? What will happen as a result of it? Well, as a result of this conversation, Beowulf will go on to defeat the dragon. He will either find out where the dragon is, maybe a word of warning about the dragon, but this conversation between Beowulf and King Bjorn, that is the effect of it. That is how it will advance the plot. It's going to introduce then how Beowulf will come to defeat the dragon, because it wouldn't make any sense for Beowulf just to turn up in Denmark and just find the dragon and defeat it without having spoken to the king. You might want to give Beowulf some sort of prize or reward for doing it and introduce that plot point as well. And then how will Bjorn be portrayed? And how will we show Beowulf's character through the dialogue? Well, Bjorn, as we know, is a weak and cowardly ruler, so we want to make sure that the way he speaks reflects that personality trait. So he might be trembling, shaking, maybe stuttering, maybe even cowering or hiding as he's talking. We might want to use some action, referring back to Steele. The action in that, might be pacing around, might be wringing his hands and so on. With Beowulf, we know that he's a legendary hero across Denmark and Scandinavia. He's going to be really confident. I think he would be very respectful as well to the king. He wouldn't be rude. So we want to make sure that that dialogue reflects his personality too and the way that he speaks. So we've got quite a hefty chunk of a paragraph from last week and looking at really how we use dialogue to advance action and reveal character. So the real part of it we're focusing on today is around this section here. And we can see that's not formatted correctly because you can see, oh no, that's fine there, sorry. There we go. So just how do you propose to be the victor, Beowulf? The king asked as they finished their meal. So this shows that King Hrothgar in this one was very polite. He's just finishing their meal together. Many before you have failed. The element that surprised my lord, smiled Beowulf. So he's being polite as well. And then we can see how it advances the action because he's kind of talking about how he's going to defeat the Grendel, in that model. So we're going to actually start our shared writing now. Our first section is going to be how the hero heard of the plan. So it's up to you how you want him to hear about it. It might be a messenger. You can just be a bit more vague and have the news spread. You might have some sort of messenger bird, for instance. You might even have, as a challenge, an idea that Beowulf may have previously helped other kings. So maybe King Bjorn had heard of Beowulf's success in defeating the powerful Grendel and requested for him immediately. Okay, so how the hero heard the problem. This can be as long or as short as you want it to be, but I think it is important to build up the character of Beowulf a little bit. So if you want to contrast Bjorn was obviously feeling really worried. When we can introduce Beowulf, fortunately, or lucky for him, or little did he know, a brave hero was ready and waiting to help him. So we can have a contrast with how fortunate he is if he gets that help, or we can also have within just a few short days or before long, give a sense of time when news spread. So I think there's two ways into introducing this paragraph here. I'm going to go with fortunately, but again, ideas like little did he know, luckily for him, fortunately, you can use fortunately, comma, fortunately for Bjorn. A courageous, and you can build this up like we built up the idea of Nidhogg. A courageous warrior soon heard the news. He was said to be the bravest and most strongest in all of Scandinavia. His name was Beowulf, if you want to. I've already used that device for Nidhogg, so I don't want to repeat it again. Although if you did it cleverly, you could have a very deliberate repetition there, and because you've got the two main characters with a similar introduction, but obviously they're completely different. So a courageous warrior named Beowulf. This model will also be available on your home learning document. It might be slightly different on yours as well, because I've had a couple of technical difficulties, and so I'm just trying to make this one a bit shorter for you because the last one was really long as well. Named Beowulf was eager to help. He was known to be. So I'm going to use some superlatives here: strongest, bravest, and so on. The strongest and greatest warrior. And then you can obviously say in the world, or in the known world, in all of the kingdoms, in all of Scandinavia, in Denmark, or even in Sweden or in Norway, wherever you want him to be. So he was known to be the strongest and greatest warrior in Scandinavia, in all of Scandinavia. So this is just two sentences. It does look quite long still, but it's just two sentences. So I've got one with an opener here, and then just one, just a basic sentence. So now I want the hero travelled. So it's up to you how you want him to travel. I think the most sensible options would be that he travelled by horse or by boat. So I think I might have him sail there, because I made a point of obviously saying that this kingdom is on the coast. I think it would be a shame to miss opportunity there. So he prepared his boat. And sailed or set sail, voyaged. And I think about how you can describe the ocean as well. So I don't want to describe it too negatively, because I said it was sleepy before. You could use foreshadowing here with a change in the weather, that maybe if it's quite stormy, or there's biting wind, or the sea is spitting, to show that there is danger ahead. And that would be a really great way that lots of authors use that technique. I don't want to contrast the ocean too much, because I referred to it in a positive way earlier. So he prepared his boat and set sail. That doesn't make sense, does it? And set sail across the frothing ocean. Okay. And then you can give a span of time here. So after travelling for a certain amount of time, when he arrived, and then think about what the kingdom would look like. So there's been a fire-breathing dragon attacking it. How would you expect the kingdom to look at that point? So you might be expecting that there are still fires, it's smouldering still, maybe there are scorch marks, especially like scorch marks on buildings, maybe the roofs have been burned away, there are soot marks maybe there's a smell of burning. When he arrives, you could have that he notices that there's a big black cloud of smoke over the kingdom. Maybe you could have, if he has a pleasant journey here, where it's really sunny and nice and pleasant, that you have a contrast then with how negative it is and how bad it is in the kingdom, and there's a sudden shift, and that would show the foreshadowing. So it's all nice and sunny and nice and warm and nice and calm, and suddenly there is a thick black cloud hovering above the kingdom. It warned him there was danger ahead. So there's lots of different ways you can innovate that here. So I might go for more of a when he arrived. Read his boat and set sail across a frothing ocean. When he arrived, and because when is a subordinating conjunction. So when he arrived, and I want his reaction, he was stunned. To see the scorched earth and billowing. Actually, I'm going to change the word billowing. Choking, I think, would be better to make it more negative. And choking clouds of black smoke, and I might use billowing as the verb instead. Scorched earth and choking clouds of black smoke. Billowing from there. And I've used maybe kingdom again, or town. Let's see what that sounds like. Fortunately for Bjorn, a courageous warrior named Beowulf was eager to help. He was known to be the strongest and greatest warrior in Scandinavia. He prepared his boat and set sail across a frothing ocean. When he arrived, he was stunned to see the scorched earth and choking clouds of black smoke billowing from the kingdom. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. So I've given a bit of description about that. So I have written an example already, and I've typed that one up. It is a bit different, I think, here. I referred to from Nidhogg's unexpected and unwanted arrival with repetition of as the prefix again. So there are a couple of different ways. So there's this way to ever so slightly different from the other version that I have since typed up. So now we want to go in with our speech. So the hero and the king discuss the plan and problem they need to meet. So we've had Beowulf, he's journeyed from where he comes from, and then he hears news. We want to make sure it's cohesive throughout, you see. So he hears about it. He can't just turn up, otherwise that wouldn't make any sense. Otherwise there would be no problem. Beowulf would just defeat him straight away. So Beowulf hears about it. He has to travel there, and now we need Beowulf to meet the king. So if you go back to your previous paragraph, and to make sure you've got cohesion, I would have Bjorn in the same place where you left him last. So I know from looking at mine that he's barricaded inside his castle. So I want Beowulf to enter through the castle. You can think now, if you want Beowulf to just introduce himself, and he just goes into the castle and introduces himself. You might want to go into a bit more detail at that point and think about what Bjorn is doing. So because he's cowardly and he's scared, what might he be doing in the castle at that time when Beowulf arrives? Have a think now. Okay, so I think Bjorn could be hiding still, so he might actually refuse to open the door to Beowulf and talk through the door to him. He might be surrounded with his few remaining soldiers. He may be trembling, he could be sobbing. If you think of someone who's really nervous, they tend to kind of really quite anxious. Maybe he's pacing, he could be wringing his hands, he could be biting his nails. So I want to show that he's got this ongoing anxiety and fear, and really, who can blame him? He's got a fire-breathing dragon living outside, and we want to make sure that that is clear there as well. So here we have, we want Beowulf to actually go in though, so maybe just he. I've used a lot of he. He was noted, he prepared when he arrived. Maybe I'll refer to him as different nouns, so the, don't use hero, maybe the fearless. I've used warrior already. The fearless hero entered there. I've used scorched already, so I'll just have castle, but you could describe the, maybe the king's castle. Castle. And introduced himself. You could just explain it away with that. Sorry, you can't see that there, can you? Move that. Oh, dear me. Oh, sorry. King's Castle introduced himself, or you can use some of that show not tell I was talking about, and found the King's Castle, and found actually Bjorn. I found Bjorn. Don't want to use the king again. Bjorn biting his nails. Nervously. Maybe he could be, his eyes could be flickering between Beowulf and the door, and he can't really focus, and he's jumping at every sound. You could have him even react to the door opening there. And because I want to have Beowulf speak, I need to go on a new line here. So I want Beowulf to introduce himself. So my name, otherwise, how would the king know who he is? Or maybe the king even says, you must be Beowulf, or you could even get some character description in there actually. You could have the king remark on, oh my goodness, a man who is, and then refer to his height, maybe 6 foot tall, with, and again talk about his armour or his weapons, or maybe his facial features. You must be Beowulf, or you're the only warrior I've seen in days. I only know one who could be so brave. You must be Beowulf, and then maybe he's got a reputation. It would be quite nice here if you maybe refer back to the Beowulf legend we looked at last week, where maybe King Bjorn has heard about how he helped King Hrothgar. And other references to his bravery or his deeds or his feats prior to this point. But anyway, because Beowulf is going to be so confident, we want his speech to reflect that. So my name is Beowulf and I will defeat this dragon. But he's also going to be respectful as well. He's not going to, say, pull yourself together. Or maybe he will. It depends on how you want him to be. But I think in mine, I want him to be quite polite. So he wouldn't say anything like, pull yourself together. He'd refer to the king in polite terms, such as Your Majesty, Your Highness, my Lord, and so on. So he's going to be confident though. So my name is Beowulf and I will defeat or slaughter or bring you that dragon's head. My name is Beowulf and I will defeat that dragon. My lord, or that beast. We don't want to use Beowulf here because we've already said that my name is Beowulf, so we want to just have he. I will defeat that dragon, my lord, he announced or declared. We want him to be confident, and we can use confidently as an adverb as well. He declared confidently. Because I've got a new speaker on a new line, I want to go on a new line, and I have to go on a new line, sorry. So we have to remember to go on a new speaker, new line. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Oh dear. So if I move that up again. Sorry, we've got just a bit of room at the bottom there. There we go. So Bjorn is going to reply. So I think what I'll have here, but how House, swords. Useless against a wretched creature. So just have a response. Think about how Hrothgar is going to reply if he's feeling really nervous. Wretched creature, the trembling king. Sobbed, maybe. And then I've run out of room, so I definitely want a new speaker on a new line again for Beowulf. And I think I might have the verb first this time, just so it's not getting too repetitive with the inverted commas at the beginning. So I want Beowulf, you can reply immediately. Maybe he grabs a weapon to show the king at that point what the plan is. Don't worry about having an explicit plan. That's not what I mean by the step. I just mean that, you know, he might have some veiled quip about you know, jumping out from the shadows, or everything has a weak spot, or he should be patient, or nighttime is the cloak of a warrior, or something like that. He's going to be stealthy. So, or you don't even have to have that bit. We're just discussing the monster. So I'm just going to have Beowulf pauses. So he's just collecting his thoughts on how to reply. So paused for a moment. And replied, so he's quite calm, so he's just replying or responding or spoke. Because the verbs here, we need the comma, inverted commas, and I want them to speak quite formally to each other, so I'm not going to use any contractions of a dialogue either. So it's just going to reassure the king, do not fear, and I'm going to use my idea about everything has a weakness. You can just leave it as he says that he'll defeat the beast, and that's fine, but as long as we are just advancing the plot, that's all I want. So here in our purple section is how the hero prepared. So you can think about how would a warrior prepare, what would he do? So you're right, he would maybe grab a weapon, he maybe would grab a shield. Think about now how you, again, if you want in the battle for the flames to be fired against the dragon, a shield might be quite useful then. Maybe he's getting some armour, maybe he's getting some rest, maybe he just needs to find the dragon. So you can have describe the setting a little bit if you want to here. Beowulf, so you can have an opener. I'm just going to have him leave. Everything has a weakness. Beowulf strode out, so show that he's confident. Strode out into strode out of the palace. I'm just going to call it by a different name, or fortress. So for palace, and followed the stench of death. So he's going to track the dragon. He could be tracking the footprints, he could be tracking the burn marks, he could maybe see the shadow of the dragon, he could see, maybe he hears its roars from a cave or something. So think about where you want your fight scene. I'm going to have him head to a cave. Strode out of the palace and follow the stench of death and the dragons. I've used dragon, so I'm actually going to use beast. Did I use beast verb here? Or creature. And follow the stench of death and the beast's bone-chilling. There we go, bone-chilling or blood-curdling, bone-chilling roars. Beowulf strode out of the palace and followed the stench of death and the beast's bone-chilling roars to a cave in the mountain. So that's where the dragon is living. So I want my fight scene to take place in a cave. So that's what I'm going to do. Somewhere like that would be a good location for a fight scene with the dragon. Maybe the top of a mountain would work well. That would be a nice dramatic scene as well. Maybe it could just be around the village too. So just think about where you want the fight to to happen, and you want Beowulf to head there and the dragon to be there, but you can have that he follows the footsteps to somewhere. Bjorn as well, in the model that I've typed up for you, says that where the dragon is, that he lives in a cave. So it's up to you where you want to put that plot point in. So hopefully you enjoyed this paragraph today. It's a slower pace. I have tried to shorten it, but I think with just having these double lines, it looks a lot longer than it is, because there are just a few sentences for each section. Just make sure it's cohesive, make sure it flows well, and it's all about the dialogue here. Try and express the characters through how they speak and what they say, and really we just need to advance the plot with having the king and Beowulf meet. If they don't meet, then obviously it's going to be difficult to advance the plot. You might have that the king offers Beowulf an award here as well. Maybe he begs him. You can show his selfish side as well with saying that I just don't want to die. I mean, my villagers, oh, who am I kidding? Me. Oh, look at me. I'm no hope against that beast. Okay, so have fun with that today. Really looking forward to hearing all of your work. It'd be great to hear some more narration on Seesaw as well, for you to perform your work and read it out loud. It's a really important part of the editing process. You see me do it and being quite reflective on the vocabulary that I want to use. So have a great day, everyone. Take care, and looking forward to starting the fight scene with you tomorrow. Bye-bye.